So we're going to talk about Eve today. We all know that according to the Bible, Eve was the first woman that ever existed or was created. However, there's the wrong notion that woman or Eve was created just for the sole purpose of, taking care of the man or being his subordinate and having children and all that. But that is not even what the Bible teaches. A closer look at the book of Genesis will show you that that's not what the Bible teaches. And we can see that in the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. That was when the first conversation about creating humanity occurred. So in that Genesis 1:26, he said, let us make man. God said, let us make human beings or mankind in our image after our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every creeping and crawling thing upon the face of the earth. So at this point, there was no conversation about gender. God said, I'm going to make another species. I have made a species of, the animals that or creatures that live in water, the creatures that live on land, the creatures that fly in the air. Now I'm going to make another species. But their assignment is going to be to manage or to oversee every other species that has been created. At this point, there's no conversation about male or female. Then verse 27 is where that conversation starts. But we also have to understand it. It says, and God made them in his image and likeness. He created them. Male and female, he created them. And then verse 28 still talks about all the blessings that he gave. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion. It was given to them, male and female. So from here you can see that purpose was the first thing discussed. Gender was the next thing that was mentioned in passing, but gender did not still stop the blessing given to both parties in verse 28. So to me, it just clearly shows that gender was a natural system for reproduction or replication of the human species that God made. It had nothing to do with one's purpose or one's capacity to live out a chosen purpose. So your gender should not stop you from ruling over the earth. Your gender should not stop you from increasing, multiplying, replenishing, subduing, and having dominion over whatever sphere of life you feel called to or you are drawn to make an impact in. Your gender should have nothing to do with that. Gender is just a way to replicate, just like animals replicate through that means. If there was no male and female gender, then it means that every single time that there is a need to multiply people in the earth, God will come down and mold somebody. But because God is someone that works with systems, he has already made even the sun, he makes it, and the moon and the stars, and is like a system that controls the seasons and times and years and everything. So God works in systems. God already gave an instruction. Humans are going to manage the earth, male and female. But the reason for the male and female side of things is just for the purpose of procreation or reproduction. And even at that point, it becomes a thing of choice. The fact that you have the capacity to reproduce doesn't mean that you should reproduce. When Jesus came to the earth, he came in the form of a man. He had the capacity to get somebody pregnant, but he chose not to. He said, my purpose is very important to me. I want to be able to dedicate all my time to it and accomplish that purpose. And he chose not to. And so because purpose comes before any conversation about gender, it means that Eve and every woman out there has the option to choose whether to get married or to be an independent person pursuing purpose. And this is just the same way that Jesus himself came and he chose to pursue purpose instead of getting married and having children. He was the second Adam. And his priority was to reconcile mankind to God. That was his purpose. And his purpose was not to marry and begin to rule over a woman according to patriarchal rules. It's not anybody's purpose. God never said, be fruitful, multiply, rule over each other. Men rule over women. That was never the plan. And if Jesus was the second Adam and he came to show us the way and reconcile mankind or humanity to God, then it means that we can copy him, right? His priority was not to give birth to his own tribe of children and leave a legacy of children that will answer his name. He actually impacted lives without having a wife or children. And that is just proof that according to the original intent, marriage and childbirth are optional regardless of your gender. And so the one thing I want you to take away from here is this. Although a lot of people say that Eve was created for Adam, that's not the case. Eve was created as part of mankind. Right? Mankind was sent or created to manage the earth. And your gender should not stop you from pursuing purpose. Marriage and childbirth should not be your priority. Your assignment, whatever you perceive that this is what I want to do with my life, that is what should be your priority. And the thing is, the more you learn, the more you work, the more you engage with society, the more the thing that you are really passionate about will become clearer to you. And I want you to know that purpose has nothing to do with religion, but it has everything to do with stewarding one aspect of life on earth, whatever aspect it is. Whether it's your call is to be a doctor, a teacher, a farmer, a judge, and a person that involves in, engages in activism, whatever it is, you know it already. You know it already. Has nothing to do with going to serve in church and all that. Now, as a young Christian, I used to think that a person's calling had to do with serving in church. I used to believe that there's a secular life and a spiritual life. But now I understand that I am in the physical. I'm here on earth to make tangible impact in society. And so for you and I as women, we dress and keep our portion of the earth by participating wholeheartedly in whatever sphere of the society you find yourself in, or you find yourself drawn to. Let your presence be felt. Let your presence not just be felt when you go to church and you roll around. That's not necessary. Yes, fellowshipping with each other is good and all that. But what is more important is let people that live in your environment know that there's a human that has an impact to make, that has something to contribute to society. As a young person, I got to a point where I was so into, this religious fanaticism, I almost dropped out of school and all that. But I'm grateful that I didn't make that decision. Yes, all that mindset held me back for so many years, but now I know better. When I was very young, from a very young age, I always wanted to be a fashion designer. I used to sketch, amazing designs right from my childhood. But now, after many years of exploring various career paths and all that, nowadays I find myself strongly envisioning what life could be for women in a society that upholds equality and equity. And so for me, it has become crystal clear that for me, advocacy is what fulfills me. It is my purpose. And that is it for me. Yours could be something different. And so although I currently have a different career path I'm on, right? I still show up to lend my voice to advocacy. And that is what fulfills me like no man's business. So your own calling, your own purpose could be something different. That being said, the world needs whatever it is that you carry. You were created for a purpose that transcends your gender. Your purpose transcends marriage. Your purpose transcends motherhood. You can choose not to marry. You can choose to not have children. The Bible itself even says it's better for you to not even marry, so you have time to pursue purpose. So those are some lessons we can learn from the life of Eve by looking at what God said about her, and by extension, all women. So regardless of whatever it is that patriarchy has always fed us, that we were created for men. No. And so I'll leave it at that for today. In the next episode, we're going to look at the life of Eve still, other aspects of her life, just to see what God's original plan was for us and how everything that transpired in the garden impacts our lives today, according to the Bible, right? Thank you for your time. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you in my next video.